What if the pause wasn't the problem? What if the interruption, the meltdown, the nightmare, the missing lovey was a sacred redirection? If you live with ADHD, you're all too familiar with the feeling. Trying to bloom in a world that only celebrates the finished flower, not the seed, not the soil, definitely not the storm the night before. But the maiden knows. She says, bloom anyway, not despite the chaos, but because of it. Tonight, we explore the spiritual purpose of pauses, the medicine of interruption, the type of joy that doesn't need permission. You're not behind. You're in bloom. Come sit with me as you are. My name is Kayla, and today is day 9 of the 0303 series, where I show up for ADHD women, bringing messages of joy, messages of hope, messages of deep remembrance for the parts of us that have been buried. Before we begin tonight, I want to go ahead and do a breathing exercise. We are going to breathe in for 6, hold for 2, and breathe out for 8. We'll just do this once tonight. Are you ready? Begin. Very nice. Do you feel yourself melting into your seat? Relaxing bit by bit, a little bit more into the space. Tonight, we are going to work exclusively with the Maiden. Mondays are for the Maiden during this series. And we're going to explore the art of blooming anyway, sacred pauses. What's the spiritual purpose of them? I went to go do my live stream this morning. This is where the inspiration for this video came from. And I was awake at 5, wasn't out of the bed, but at 5:30 I was about to get up. I was literally about to pull the blankets back. And I heard the door to my daughter's room. Yeah, the door to my daughter's room open. And here she came down the hallway with a nightmare. So I knew at that point there was no live stream at 5:30 this morning. And my soul wasn't upset. I wasn't upset. I knew I needed to surrender to the moment, tend to my daughter, make her feel better. And I was okay with that. So throughout the course of the day, I've really been thinking about it and trying to figure out what tonight's reading should be. And what I want to explore pauses, interruptions, redirections. Because with ADHD, they happen all the time. Your thoughts interrupt your own thoughts. Your children interrupt your thoughts. Your work interrupts your thoughts. When I'm at work and I'm in the zone, that's great. But anytime we're taken away from a task and we have to refocus in, it takes at least 10 to 15 minutes to get your brain back into that mode. So I completely understand the frustration that comes with pauses, with redirections, with distractions. But I really want to explore, how can we learn from these? How can we let them anchor us into the present moment? How can we surrender to the flow of life rather than constantly fighting against what's happening? How can we sink into our spiral, into the moment, whether it's chaos or hyperfocus, whether it's clarity or fog? In what way does the pause serve us to bring us back to conscious presence? Maiden, can you please give us that guidance today? In what way does the pause honor ADHD women? How does it redirect us to the present moment? What lessons can we learn from the pauses, from the distractions, from the interruptions, please? Wow. We have a strength on the bottom of the deck. Look at this, you guys. Queen of Cups, Temperance, which has come out quite a bit throughout the course of the series so far, and then the King of Cups. Look at that. That is power. You have 2 royal cards and a major arcana. Right away, I'm seeing divine balance. We've talked about our divine feminine a few times and our divine masculine as well. How we need to balance both of those. You know, healing of the divine masculine isn't discussed quite as much. You can overextend both of these energies. And that's really all they are, right? Energies. Has nothing to do with gender. I just can't with these cards, you guys. It's like the Queen of Cups, the King of Cups on either side of the Temperance card, which is literally an angel pouring water between 2 cups, balancing, transmuting, healing. How can the pause help us tap into analyzing our divine feminine and our divine masculine? Do we need to tap into our divine feminine with our emotions, to sit with them, to surrender to them, to receive our emotions instead of boxing them up? And then do we also need to be the King of Cups with our emotions? Have that clarity, that emotional control to be able to take action and be sovereign over our emotions and say, yes, I feel this, and I release it. Yes, I feel this, and I release it, to be able to move on, take action with our lives. The pause is a perfect place, a perfect spiritual practice every time it happens. And especially, like, to me, this reading came about because of my children. You may not have kids, but there is something that's distracting you, right? It could be something at work. It could be people talking. I have a really hard time focusing when there are a lot of people talking. Not necessarily quietly, but if someone's kind of loud and they talk, I can really struggle. So that can be a distraction for you. The pause is meant to bring balance. That's what I'm getting. It's meant to bring balance to our day to day lives, allow us to take the time to step back from the situation instead of rushing through life, rushing through life. I did some work with a therapist once, and she told me that a great practice you can do, especially as a female, you know, we normally have hair bands on our wrists. One thing to do as soon as you get in the car, whether it's after you go to the grocery store or after you go to work, instead of turning the car on, first thing you should do is snap the hairband just a few times. And the purpose of that is to interrupt that natural flow, the flow of life where you're just go, 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 right? That snap brings you to the present moment, brings you to the now. It can make you sit back and say, ooh, I need to catch my breath. I've been running all day. Or I've been holding my breath. It brings you back to balance. It brings you to temperance. So, what other ways can we honor this pause? In what other ways can we bloom despite the pause? You know, going back to healing this divine masculine, a lot of times we try to force our way into things. We try to force our way into a situation, force our way into an outcome. And I feel like the maiden is telling us here with the strength card too. It takes a balanced inner strength to understand, yes, I have this hyper focus, or I have this goal, or I have this vision that I want to achieve. But I'm not going to push too far. I'm not going to sacrifice the health of my body, right? I'm not going to risk burnout. I'm not going to forget who I am or what I actually want in the pursuit of this vision, of this dream, right? I'm not going to do things that are not aligned with my morals, with what I believe is right. And at the same time, coming back to the Queen of Cups, honoring the knowing we have within us and that respect that we have for others. All the queens to me are very empathetic, right? They understand. They're leaders. They are the mother of the country, right? The matriarch of the country, whatever they're ruling, right? So the pause in this situation could also be an invitation for you to hold space for someone else in your life, whether that's a kid or a coworker. I use children a lot in my examples because I'm a mom right now to a lot of littles, and it really does. It tests you as a mother with ADHD when you don't feel safe and you're overwhelmed and you don't even have your own emotions regulated, right? How can you be an example of that for your children? And it always comes back down to one thing: presence, mindfulness, realizing you're not perfect. And it's so difficult. I am not underestimating how hard it is. It has been one of the toughest things I've done in my life is to really pay attention to what you're doing, what I'm doing, right? When I'm just snapping because I've had a long day or I've overstimulated. But the maiden's inviting us here with this Queen of Cups. How can we soften? How can we soften and embrace the pause? How can we soften and appreciate the teaching aspect that it's bringing to us? If this has to do with a coworker in your life, maybe this is a situation where you have been a bit more reserved, you've been a bit more quiet, and you've allowed them to continuously interrupt you over and over and over again. And it's really time the maiden wants you to really stand up for yourself as well. We can have empathy, we can have compassion, we can be kind to others without letting them take advantage of us and walk all over us. So, how can we balance this, right? This nurturing with this self sovereignty. Communication really is the best thing to do. I know there's a lot of, I can't think of the word right now, controversy over whether you should, inform people that you work with about your ADHD. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a decision you have to come to on your own. You need to use your own discernment. It really is going to depend on where you work, the people you work with, right? And maybe you don't want to label it as ADHD. That's fine too. But you could just say, "Hey, I found that it's really helpful to me in my life and in my work if you can let me do like, this is my calendar. I do focused work from 8 to 10. And then after that point, if you want to stop by and if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to interrupt my workflow. But if you could let me really concentrate on my work for that time, I get a lot more done and I'm more productive for the company. So that's one example. Another example is you could actually put up a visual, they have signs that say meeting in progress. You could have something that says deep work in progress, please do not disturb. Focused work in progress, please do not disturb. That's just a few examples. But communication, telling somebody what you need, having the courage to say, this would be beneficial for both of us, right? With the strength card and the temperance, I'm being reminded that this strength is already within you. This balance is already within you. You just have to learn how to tap into it, right? It's not, it is definitely the behavior aspect is something that we have to teach ourselves, is something we have to relearn over time because of the way we've been conditioned throughout our lives, the activities we've taken, the way we've shown up in the world. But the idea is planted deep within you. It's something that can be remembered, can be tapped into. I talk about visualization a lot, and it's because it works. There's science behind it, guys. It works. So why wouldn't you take advantage of it? It's not intimidating. It's really easy. Watch, we can do it right now. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself at work. Imagine your coworker walks up. Feel your body when they approach. You release any tension, you release any nervousness. You pull up your strength, your courage, the strength card, right? You've been planning this. You know what you're going to say. And you deliver the message. You deliver it kindly, but with strength. You are the Queen of Cups. You are the King of Cups. You have balance. And your coworker responds, not with aggression, but with understanding, and tells you that they would be more than happy to help support you in your work. See? We just did a visualization. And my brain didn't know the difference between it actually happening and me making it up. Yours is the same. Now, does that mean that that's how the situation's actually going to go? No, of course not. But the purpose of it is to train your body to know how to react in the situation, to practice, to prepare ahead of time. This is breaking the, what is it called, the third wall or something. Before my live streams, I have an intro that I want to say. I practice it over and over and over again until it's like me just talking to you right now. I don't want to read it. I don't like how that looks. But I don't want to struggle with it either. So I just practice over and over and over again until it flows. And then I'm more confident and I can push start live stream. It's the same for you. You just have to practice. That can be in your mind. That can be writing it out, scripting it out. You can make a vision board on Pinterest of what embodying the Queen of Cups and the King of Cups looks like. Of the Temperance card, having that balance, having that I'm not even going to try to say that word again. Being able to alchemize your emotions to get you into a strength position where you're not being ruled by them. And when you're at work, maybe you need to surrender to the pause. If something happens, maybe you need to use that as an opportunity to collect yourself, to get to this King of Cups and Queen of Cups state. Maybe that's just taking a breath in and out before you respond, grounding into who you are. I work at a company that has some high stress at times. And it used to really destroy me. But now, when something happens and I find myself with my heart rate up and I'm upset and emotionally dysregulated, I go outside for a quick walk around the parking lot. I smell whatever's blooming. I touch the trees. I feel the wind. I look at the clouds. And if I can, I put my feet in the grass. It doesn't have to take 30 minutes. It's just the intentional act of bringing yourself back to stability, to temperance, to balance. So, in what ways can you honor the pause? In what ways can you bloom, even though it's not the way someone else expects? How can you harness this strength card? The strength to use the pause to your benefit. You know, when we think of public speaking, pauses are used for dramatic effect. Anytime there's a pause, it normally indicates that we need to pay attention to what was just said before that. So, how can we surrender to the pause? How can we use the pause? How can we accept that it's here to help us, to be our teacher, to be the fertilizer for our growth? Let me know in the comments below. Sending love and light to anyone that is open to receive. Thank you, Maiden, for this message. Thank you for the medicine of the pause. And thank you for joining me today. If you'd like, you can check the rest of the readings out from this series. I'll link it at the end of this video. But I'd like to remind you on this channel, come as you are and stay as you become.